first interview of the day, though. More than 20 years ago, the Northern Territory legalised euthanasia, but that was short-lived. The federal government reacted via backbencher Kevin Andrews with a bill withdrawing that right for any territory. That was in 1997. Now there's a push to restore it, allowing the NT and the ACT to pass euthanasia legislation if they want. And it seems it will be a genuine chance to pass, with the two major parties likely to have a free vote. Pushing this bill is Liberal Democratic Senator David Leyonhjelm. I spoke to him earlier. David Leyonhjelm, thanks for your time. Now, just on this free vote for the two major parties, do you have a firm undertaking this will be the case and it will get to a vote in the Senate?
Yes. I actually have an undertaking from the Prime Minister that not only will it get to a free vote in the Senate, if it passes in the Senate, there will also be a free vote in the House, that he won't stand in the way of me finding somebody in the House who will pick up the bill and present it. I haven't asked for a binding vote, so all I've said is it's a free vote. If it passes or fails, it'll be according to the individual votes of members and senators.
And what does that mean for the numbers? Have you tallied them up? How likely is it to get through?
Well, my motion today will get through, so then it'll be in August when my bill is debated. I'm pretty confident it'll get up.
How confident? You know, have you done the numbers? Have you added them up?
No, I haven't done the numbers, but well, they were overwhelmingly in favour of same-sex marriage, for instance. This issue is far better supported in the community than same-sex marriage was. Opinion polls show 70–80%, usually over 80%, is in favour of this in some form or assisted suicide in some form or another. So I don't think there's any reason to believe that Parliament wouldn't broadly reflect that kind of sentiment. There'll be some people who will say no, and I do know a few of them who will say no. So it won't be unanimous by any means, but my guess is 2/3. You
said that you'd got a free vote on this, not a binding vote. Was there any quid pro quo with the government on this?
Yeah, well, this deal with the government goes back to my negotiations well over a year ago, 18 months, nearly 2 years ago, in the context of the ABCC. I was a bit torn on that bill. It contained elements that I didn't like, coercive aspects, removal of the right to silence, reverse onus of proof, for example. They're pretty fundamental to my view, in my view of the world, so I wouldn't normally vote for those sorts of things. Having said that, I could see that the bill was really important. If I took those coercive elements out, it risked the bill not achieving what they wanted to do. So I looked for what we called liberty offsets. And so this is one of the, there are several other things on my list, but this was one of the ones that I negotiated.
Any others that are in the pipeline, or?
No, I think this is the last one to be implemented.
Okay.
And the issue for the government has been not that they didn't do a deal, it's a matter of timing. They could never work out when was the right time. They didn't really want to take the initiative and bring it on themselves, so I've decided to force it.
Now this just obviously frees the territories to have their own say on this. Broadly speaking, what would you say need to be safeguards for any legislation that would happen down the track? Territories, states, whatever it might be.
The most important thing is to ensure that there is informed consent. That's absolutely important. We can't have a coercive situation. We can't have people feeling I'm being forced into ending my life to please somebody else.
And that comes to state of mind and all those sorts of things.
State of mind. So if there's dementia, you can't assume consent. If there's mental illness of any other kind, you can't assume there's consent. You really have to assume that somebody's got all their marbles, knows exactly what they're doing. They would take their own life if they could, but the reason they need help is because they are too sick, too feeble or whatever to do it themselves. You've got to limit it to those circumstances. We're talking about assisted suicide. We're not talking about putting people out of their misery. It's not like putting a dog down. I've done thousands of them when I was a vet. It's nothing like that at all. This is helping people to die who would die by their own means if they were able to, if they weren't physically infirm.
Okay, and it's a big, complicated debate. I'm sure we'll happen more down the track once we're got states and territories moving on.